Hey guys, we're back with another dummies tutorial video. I'm just going to kind of extend from the first one, and we're going to show area triggers a little bit more alongside of hit triggers. So I just picked a location here, just saw this bridge it shows to build here. I placed just a few ramps all the same with a different variation. So I pulled out a few different events that you can utilize for different things. Except for this sound event. If you hit up on the D-pad, go over to tools, and you go to your triggers, and you go to events. I pulled out a bunch. That's where you see the effect event, the physics event, all these things I'm using, 4 of them, but there's a 5th one. In Rising, the audio has its own category over here. So to get that, it's still an event, but it is under the audio file over here. So I grabbed one of those out as well. So right now, I'm just going to pull out a trigger. Let's just start real quick with the area trigger again. And let's see the few different things that can happen here. So you saw the effect one. Back to that in a minute. Let's say you want to change the color variation, or color. You want to use a color event. Alright. So let's grab an object we want to change the color on. Just any. Not every object has the option to change colors on it. And when you go to click something, on the right side it will tell you if it's breakable, if it has physics that can be enabled, and if the colors can be selected on it, alongside its mass and hit points. All of that is information before you even touch it. You can just look at it right there. So I know some generic objects. Go to tools, we can get primitive objects. Primitive shapes, excuse me. And let's just grab triangle. It's kind of small, so we'll go down here and we'll just place it a little bigger. Just place it right at the edge of this bridge. We don't touch it. Alright, so we'll go into it hitting up, and let's just start off with a color. We'll turn up emissions. The right analog can do roughness, which certain objects is kind of noticeable and some not at all. But let's do emissions, which is the brightness of it. So we'll make a bright, it's a little too bright. Just make a green object over here. Leave it like that. Okay, so we want it so when you pass by this object, it'll change colors. So we'll just take our area trigger. This is what's going to start the event. We'll put it right in front of your driver so you can't miss it. Turn to this, just make it a little less on the screen. Increase the size a little bit. We'll place that there. Okay. So we want this thing, this area trigger, triggered by the bike and rider. On hit, we're going to move up to this color event. I'll drag that down for you. Okay, so this is telling something that the color is going to be varied in different ways. So first thing you want to do is you want to select the target you want to change. So we're going to change this triangle. Oops. Let's go back in there. We're going to modify the color, which is enabled default. Now we're going to switch it to black. Let's just go with black. So I'm just going to the bottom here. Let's just click black. Okay. Now, if I hit select, nothing happens. It's still green. And now you can see that right when I touch that area trigger, it immediately turns to the other color. It's immediate. Okay? That's how the color works. Let's just reel it for ha-has, since we already saw effects. Let's go ahead and add one to that same object. So let's just go into effects and we'll add another. Stuff's loud. Where is it? Pyro. just get a flare, something small. I'm going to drag it, snap to the line, go right behind it so it's in this object. And you can see it already wants to be on. That's, right in the object there. It's not too bad. But this doesn't want to be on. We want it off, but we are going to want it looped because we want that flame to just stay consistent. And you could use something like this setup as a just a custom checkpoint if you wanted. So let's take off enabled. We're not going to, these are all settings of the individual effect you want to play around with, brighter, bigger, whatever you want. So we'll just leave it as it is, but we'll turn it off. So now, the way it's set up, we hit this, only the color event's going to happen because we haven't connected anything to this. So the effect will go into this using up. We will click the target we want. The target is the effect. Okay. Now, nothing is still going to happen because there is nothing sending an impulse to this. And we want the color to change and the effect to go off at the same time. So let's just go into here, into our color, event, and instead of selecting the target, which is the triangle, we're going to select the filter. So this is your red line. On hit, it's going to come to the color event, and then we're going to keep the impulse moving. So we'll select the next filter, which is this event, the effects. So now that we connect those, the impulse on hit should run right through here, and at the same time it activates this one, it should also activate this one. Now let's give it a try. And it works, and it'll stay on. It'll stay like that. It won't turn back unless you hit respawn. If you crash, it'll go back to its original settings. Okay, well, let's say we wanted an object. Let's grab a different one. They got bombs all the time. No. Let's see if I can find what I want. Oh, explosives. Here we go. So say we wanted this big. Oh, jeez. Let's grab a small bomb. A barrel. Perfect. We want this barrel over here. So I'm going to take this barrel and I'm going to move it past the driving line. I'm going to move it right to the edge here, and I'm just going to kind of teeter it there so hopefully it'll fall. So the way to get it flat on the ground without being this way and no physics being allowed, if you hit select while you're holding an object, the physics will turn on and you can still move this object. So you can plant it on the ground and it'll move around depending on how you hit it against another object. So I'm going to take it on the surface. Oh, and right there it started tilting. See, it's teetering on the edge right there. So if I just leave it there, nothing's going to happen. If I hit select, it's going to be the same spot. But let's continue this event. We'll grab a physics event, snap them all so they're nice and lined up. So now we're going to do the same thing from here because we want this sequence to continue. We're going to grab the effect event. We're not looking for the target. We're looking to send the impulse further down the line. So we'll select the event filter, move it to the next thing, the physics event. We'll go into our physics event. We're going to want it on. We're going to select the target, which is this barrel. Now hopefully all of this will happen, and if I tilted this enough, hopefully it should fall off. And because physics are on, it should explode. So let's just give that a test. So it works. It's all one big line, and it'll work all at once as soon as you touch the area trigger. Now besides that, you could use it for other things. Get a second here. Okay, so besides all this, let's say we want a camera event, because right here on this first ramp, you could catch some decent air, let's say. So we'll go in here. The camera event itself is just in events, camera event. We already have one out. So we'll just go to common, general, get all your basic tools out of here, and we're going to grab a custom camera. So we're going to just move it kind of where we think we want it. Now when you have a custom camera, or any of these cameras, you see the red dotted line, that's its range, or if it's set to something specific. But right now it's just the range. So if this red line naturally doesn't reach the driving line, which you can see it goes past, the rider will not be able to activate that camera. But since we have a custom camera, it can make it activate regardless. And you can see the white dotted lines all the way out here is what this camera sees right now. So if you click on the camera, hit up, we can get into it and we can see what it looks like. And then you can click move if you'd like to. So say catch some good air, we want the camera to just come out here a bit, kind of see it all happen at once. Let's change this field of view. Okay, now we want this disabled. It defaults as enabled. We want it disabled because we don't want it to activate right when you're, as soon as it can sense your driver in range, it'll just turn on automatically. We don't want that. We want it to turn on exactly when we want it to turn on. So we're going to use an area trigger again. So let's grab another one out. But we want it to activate maybe when you're up in the air a little bit or after you leave your ramp. So I like my rectangles. Let's increase the size, guarantee a hit. Okay, snap it to the driving line. Now let's say when you pass, just go for somewhere around here. Let's just try that. Make sure you snap it. Now we're just going to use this area trigger. We're going to go into its properties, go right down to triggered by is bike and rider, and on hit is the camera event. Now into our camera events properties, select the camera. Let's select this camera we want to activate. Now, let's see if it works. Okay, it activated the camera, but you could tell there's things that it'll not turn off necessarily unless you tell it to turn back off. There's different ways of doing all these things, but something you can do in the camera setting itself, just the camera, is it has the type down here, which is interpolate, cut, and interpolate. So what this means is this interpolate means it's going to go from the game camera and it's going to slowly turn into the custom camera. It's in one motion. It's going to change its position and move to the next one smoothly. If you cut it, it'll cut right out of the game camera and go right to this one without any movement. It'll just go instantly to that view and it'll stay that way. If you want, when you come out of the camera, this one will cut and it will interpolate out of the custom camera. So we can leave it at interpolate for now. But that, you can do a lot with cameras and it can get a little tricky. And as you can see, my driver was nowhere to be found because it never turned off. So let me see if I can just do this. So I copied the trigger. This would just be a really simple way of doing this. Keep this all the same. On hit, it's going to the camera event. Okay, so this one's going to turn the camera on. And then we want to turn it off. So we can grab a event. Oops. We're going to go all the way down to state event. Now let's see if we can get this to work. A state event is something that will enable or disable or toggle numerous different items, effects, and all these different tools. So you can have numerous different things turn on at the exact same time, or just a single thing. So let's say the rider's going to hit, the camera's going to change, and let's say before he leaves this platform over here, even sooner, right here, let's take the on hit. While I'm holding, I clicked on hit. Now if I hit X, it'll remove where it was previously connected to, and then I want to select this state event instead. So we want to go into the state event, on or off, on, and toggle. There's three options. So we want off. Now the target we want to turn off is this camera event. So on hit during your jump activates the camera, and then when you pass through this area trigger, it's going to tell that camera to turn back off. Let's see if it works the way I want it to. Of course not. I don't want to select the event. If I select this camera instead of the camera event, if I target that, let me try this one more time. And as you can see, it turned back off that camera. So I didn't need to click the event, I just needed to click the camera itself. So that this camera event turns it on, and then you pass through the next area trigger, tells the state event to turn it off. And it's all set to, if you don't make the checkpoint, it'll all restart the same way. Okay, that's more on area triggers. Now there's one more thing I want to show you real quickly. We just get rid of these. We can leave this one. Let's say we want to get rid of this one. And we'll leave that one for now. So when let's change this. Now we're going to pull out a different trigger. Instead of the area trigger, let's grab a hit trigger. We'll pull one of those out. Now a hit trigger is telling the game that when one thing or object or rider hits another, something's going to happen. That's going to make it start a collision of some sort. So we go into the properties of the hit trigger, automatically enabled. Default, the hit trigger object 1 is the bike and or rider, as usual, but you can change it, as you can see, to objects or various other things. And so we're going to leave it at bike and rider. The second object is when the bike and rider hits something else. So our second object, there's nothing set. The instance we want is we want this object or instance. We want this board, this ramp you land on. So the bike and riders, hitting object 1 is bike and rider. The second object is this platform that we want. Now on hit, we want when the bike and rider hit this platform, we want it to do the same thing. We want it to send an impulse to the state event and tell it, the camera, to turn off. Now let's see if it will work. And it did. So that is one more way of utilizing turning on and off things, but there's numerous other things you can do. So we got a camera, we got objects, and you can do the same over here. Let's just replace that one as well. So we'll go over to this area trigger, starting all these beginning things to happen. Let's get rid of that. Let's grab a hit trigger and bring it back over here. Now we're going to open this one up. We're going to do the same thing. Object, bike, and rider, or object 1, object 2. Let's make it so the instance is just this one big board, or we could make it this ramp if we want, but let's just go with the big board here. So since my rider's already on it, it should automatically activate since he's touching it to begin with. Then on hit, after those two things make contact, you can start this sequence right over. So since I'm on that piece, I should be able to just click select to test the physics, and it should work. And it does. It all happens. Now the one other event I'll show you just for ha-has is the sound. So let's say when we hit this platform, let's just get another effect and another sound. So let's grab an effect, and we have the sound event. Now we just need to pick a sound. So we go in audio, your tools, and we're going to select not a loop, but just a single sound effect. Pull it out, snap it to the line, I hit up on it, go into the properties. It's disabled already. Sound effect. Let's go with a crash. We want some sort of crashing sound. Since it's wood, let's see if we can hit wood. Just door bash. That's not bad. Now when you're in these sound effects, static 2D means no matter where you are on the track compared to this sound effect, you will hear it 100% of the volume setting. If this is not enabled, that means you'll hear it only in the radius around being close to this sound effect. So if I don't want you to hear this no matter what, I'm going to leave it off. I want you to hear this right when you touch this ground. So I want you to hear the sound down here where the impact sound is going to be. So right off of our stayed on event, let's go into here. Let's take our filter. Let's try to run this sequence and let's extend it to the effect. Get out of it, go right over to the effect, hit up, go down to the filter again, and run it right over to this sound event. Now they're all connected, but we have to connect the effect and the sound to what we want to happen. So we don't have an effect yet. Let's get the sound. Go to sound effects, not the filter, but the effect. The effect of the sound is the door bash. Okay, so we need an effect to happen alongside of it. Let's get in here. Let's grab a destruction. Dust. Here we go. Okay, dust impact cloud. So you can see it's already on. It's already doing its thing because it's on looped. Well, I don't want it looped. I just want it for one impact. So we'll turn it off. Now, I'm not sure where you're going to hit exactly, but you can increase the radius or any of that, but we're not. We're just going to put it right next to the sound. Let's go into it. Let's disable it. And then let's grab our effect event, properties, and we'll grab the target of the effect is the dust cloud. So it may look like there's a bunch happening here, but this is very simple stuff. As far as over here goes, just when you hit this platform, that camera's going to turn off as we got working, but then it's it's going to keep going this impulse. It's going to make that dust cloud happen at the same time as it makes the door bash sound effect happen. And the door bash sound effect is not static, so it's just in this area where you see it. Now let's test it. One more time for ha-has. There you go. And that is just a simple way to set up a lot of basic events you can happen, how to keep the filters running from one thing to another. That's if you would like them all to be triggered at the same time. It'll all be instant. And those are just some tricks, and that's all I had in this video for you guys. I hope it helped. There will be more coming. I hope you learned something. So get out there, have fun, and enjoy. We'll see you later, dudes.